You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Yes, hello friends, what's happening? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jhon. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Really do hope that, genuinely. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series here on the channel, where I reflect on what's being said around world football about Chelsea Football Club and everything relevant to Chelsea. Giving you my thoughts on it, and as always, more importantly, asking for yours. Today we're speaking a little bit about stuff on international duty, but also, of course, transfers. Excuse me, Conor Gallagher could still be given a new contract. What's going on with Levi Colwill? The war between Romano and Plettenberg continues in the position of Chelsea and the player. And of course, I want to speak about Jhon Duran. A little Chelsea being sighted as well with Kvaratskhelia as well, which is interesting. And Jhon Duran, yes, lots to get into. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for your support as always. I do feel it. And us YouTube content creators, it's very important that we see that people are enjoying the content. And I see people enjoying the content. Makes me happy. If you do, drop a like. If you want to become part of the OG Goat Gang, subscribe. If you choose to subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you do get notified when I upload. Of course, that's often, so yeah. Alright, so starting, I'm going to talk briefly about England. Of course, I have a second channel, Football Yannick, where I speak about non-Chelsea stuff, and I'm reacting to a lot of the results from the Euros, as well as our, high-profile games in the season. High-profile transfers, just news stories, whether it's FFP or managerial. So do go check out Football Yannick, my other channel. Of course, it's just two words, Football Yannick instead of Football Therapy. I speak about England a little bit more extensively in the game there. Of course, Jude Bellingham scoring to get England their first win in the first game. People talking about the fact how Cole Palmer wasn't utilised, and we saw Jarrod Bowen come off the bench, Kobbie Mainoo. We did see Conor Gallagher come off the bench. Now, I don't have an issue with any of that. I do have some issues with Southgate, as does a lot of England fans, but not this particularly. I always knew Conor Gallagher would at least start this season, the competition, as a closer. We know Gareth Southgate likes the ideas of closers, and he sees Gallagher as that, and I get it. I think Gallagher might eventually become a closer for Chelsea, as in coming off the bench and seeing a game out with high energy, tenacity, and concentration. I'm not saying that he's not good enough to start in for England or Chelsea. I just see him as a great asset and valuable player as a closer. So I kind of get that, and I kind of get, firstly, Cole Palmer not starting for England, and Bukayo Saka started incredibly well for England. He obviously got the assist for Bellingham. He looked excellent. He was, early doors, he was ripping Serbia apart. He did get bullied a little bit. And the pragmatism that international football sometimes demands, especially when you're up against it in the second half. I get it, Jarrod Bowen's going to run the channels and harry more than Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer's more of a sort of kind of mercurial, but he's a sort of creative player. And then Kobbie Mainoo's more defensive than Cole Palmer, so I don't actually take issue with Cole Palmer not featuring in that game. I hope he does, as a Chelsea fan, as many of you Chelsea fans would as well. I hope he does feature for England, because he's such a sensational player, and I think he can contribute, and it would just be good for his career generally, I think, so I'd love to see that happening. Yes, so I just wanted to reference England briefly. Very briefly as well on international duty, the Ecuadorian Chelsea boys, both Kendry Paes, however you say it, Paes, and Moises Caicedo, picked up assists in the Ecuador win over Honduras 2-1. So in both goals, the Chelsea players were involved. I know not officially Kendry is a Chelsea player yet, but they're continuing their preparations for the Copa America, and they both registered an assist. Paes playing as the number 10, and they both played the full 90, as well as contributing to a goal each, which obviously, unsurprising for Moises Caicedo. He's the record signing in the best league in the world, in the Premier League. For Ecuador's always going to be him starting, but Paes very, very young, still only 17. But we saw Lamine Yamal start and get an assist in the Euros. Age is becoming younger and younger in terms of being ready for the high level game. But nice to see. Very positive stuff there indeed. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about transfers and probably end on Conor Gallagher's contract talks. So let's keep her going. So interesting, I just wanted to reference the fact how Fabrizio Romano did speak about Kvaratskhelia. I think I said that. If you try and break it down, you're never saying this guy's name. Kvaratskhelia. I said that. I should have stopped the first time. I had it nailed, basically. Anyway, of course, he's the winger who plays for Napoli. There's a lot of didn't he win the MVP when Napoli won the title, the Scudetto? I think he did, and there was a lot of controversy there because many people believed it should have been Victor Osimhen. But Cravadonna, as they call him, his agents come out saying, "Yeah, we're trying to leave Napoli. Yeah, we're trying to leave Napoli." And then Napoli came out and made a statement like, "No, he's contracted to 2027. We're not going to sell him." Apparently, Romano. Well, he's not apparently. Romano has said that Chelsea scouts have been in attendance several times to watch Kvaratskhelia, but they are mentioning Champions League, of course, and Chelsea are not in it. How old is he? Now, look, many of you guys will be like, well, Chelsea maybe need a left winger, Not everyone. He's 23, so he's in the slot. He's in the slot for Chelsea, for the Chelsea sporting directors. Many people will look at the Chelsea starting lineup, and we've got used to just buying loads of players and being numb to it and just assuming we've got this bottomless pool of money that we're somehow evading FFP. So it's unsurprising that we've been linked again. But many people will be like, right, strikers, Nico's fine, we'll buy another guy. Maybe Nkunku can play down the middle. We'll see what happens with strikers. We'll speak about Jhon Duran shortly as well. Right wing, locked down, baby. Whether you feel Cole Palmer should start on the right, or you're a believer in Noni Madueke, of which there are many, or indeed we do get Michael Olise over the line, no issues. And of course, right-sided players, Esteban Willian and stuff, and other players as well. Hendrick, he's a number 10, but he can play on the right. Totally locked down. So many of you will think, well, Sterling's going to be maybe with us another season. Mudrik's an interesting one. He's quite transitional. We need a left winger. Some of you will be thinking Kvaratskhelia is a great option. He's young. He's very, very talented. If this story heats up, I will look at his stats. Of course, they're very good. I'm not sure about last season. Of course, Napoli were very, very underwhelming last season. Generally, of course, they're not. I think even though Serie A, 5th is Champions League, maybe 8th is Conference League as well. So I think they finished 8th. They might have not finished in Europe, but I don't know. Chelsea still represents a big move at the moment. It would be very, very interesting to see if there's something we could consider. But Chelsea scouts have gone to watch him several times. Let me know what you think of Cravadonna. There's a KVA. Kva. Come on. Right, so let's talk about Levi Colwill. I won't bore you for too long on this, but of course, Plettenberg of Sky keeps coming out like, Bayern are interested. Bayern are contacting him. He is listening to Bayern. Sure, Chelsea don't want to sell, but Bayern. And then Romano goes, nah, it's nonsense. And then he comes back going, no, it's true. Bayern Munich, Levi Colwill. And then yet again, Romano has come out saying Chelsea's position remains very, very clear. They believe Levi Colwill is untouchable and a crucial player. And I must say, personally, that's a good thing. He's a great young player. He does have leadership qualities. And in a team that, like Chelsea, that can be sometimes perceived as quite soft, having a few more characters like that, it feels a little bit more Chelsea. Like the golden age of Chelsea, they'd all go to war for each other and none of them would get bullied. Like Lampard always said, Chelsea never had an identity over all these years winning trophies. And people always thought, what was Chelsea's identity? Of course, Abramovich famously wanted attacking football for a long time at Chelsea. He wanted a Barcelona star. I think we approached Pep as well, but Pep wasn't keen because he thought he'd get sacked quickly, which is probably true, knowing Abramovich. But he wanted tiki-taka attacking football, Spain were winning the Euros and all these competitions, and Guardiola's Barcelona emerged, and Roman wanted that. But then eventually he went, you know what, winning's more important. And then Lampard spoke about what was the, over this golden period of Chelsea winning, what was our identity? And he said, look, just talented players that were big and strong and wouldn't get bullied. That was it. And it makes full circle a little bit, because even Guardiola, who is the total football Cruyffian tiki-taka guy, even he now has just built a team of like big, burly defenders, like, that don't get bullied anymore. So it's sort of like, it does work in top level Premier League football. Anyway, I'll digress slightly. I feel like Levi Colwill could be one of that. He's not the tallest player in the world, but he definitely doesn't get bullied. And, he's a bit cultured on the ball, and, people talk about him. If you just add a little bit of that sort of reckless Alfie Gilchrist into him, of like putting his face where it hurts, you'd almost have John Terry, or like a sort of a B-Tech John Terry that's ready to grow. So let me know what you think about Levi Colwill, but it looks like he's staying regardless. So this is really interesting that I do want to talk about here. Romano again talking about Jhon Duran. Now he says negotiations are still ongoing between Chelsea and Aston Villa for Jhon Duran. The idea is that Chelsea will only do this deal only if it's a swap. So players have to be included for the deal with Duran. Which is really interesting. Of course, Chelsea now have American owners. They came into the game being really big on trades. They wanted to do trades. They quickly learned, because obviously in American sports you get trades all the time. They quickly learned that it's just not done in the Premier League. Swap deals are insanely rare. Like, insanely, more than you'd even assume. Like, I largely think that's an accounting thing. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I'm sort of guessing that it's probably something to do with spreading costs and accounting, and it's just better to do things in cash rather than asset swapping in players. But even though they've obviously learned very quickly that you just don't swap players in the Prem, or very rarely do you, it does seem like I'm getting the vibe that they do want to try that still. And Romano, who's, reputable source when it comes to transfers, is saying that, yeah, Chelsea want to do a player swap for Jhon Duran. Now, of course, Aston Villa, they want Conor Gallagher, which we'll talk about in a second. But also they're looking at Ian Maatsen, and I wonder if Dortmund won't pay the release clause, if Chelsea will go to Aston Villa and go, right, you think 40 million for Jhon Duran? I think that's mental, personally. What about that? And we've spoken about Guirassy as well. If that story comes up again, we will revisit it. But we know that they want Jhon Duran. But if they say, look, you can have Ian Maatsen and £5 million, give us the striker Jhon Duran, because that's in theory 40 million in value. Now, many people will dispute Ian Maatsen, a young, relatively petite defender, for £35 million is a lot. And in a market where not everyone has that much money anymore. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's true, and maybe remember what was the bid that we accepted for Maatsen from Burnley? Was it 30 million? It was a lot, especially for Burnley. But anyway, that's what Chelsea would be pointing to. Maybe we get Jhon Duran that way. You sort of get, but they'll want to sell Maatsen and get cash, surely, because again, it's pure profit. Anyway, look, they'll probably see it as a guy getting a young striker who could be really good for 5 million. I don't know. It's really tough. One thing's for sure, and has been widely reported and reiterated, certainly by Fabrizio Romano as well, is that Jhon Duran wants the Chelsea move. Which is interesting, because of course Aston Villa have qualified for the Champions League. Chelsea are 2 European competitions ranked down from that in the conference. But of course, the inevitable thing is, it's Chelsea. Chelsea are a big club. They are, Aston Villa are a big club. They've won the European Cup, etc. Chelsea are a bigger club than Aston Villa. It's just the way it is, especially now these days. He'll get higher wages at Chelsea. He is one of these players, as a 20-year-old, that can actually lean into the project and be like, yeah, I see the project. Apparently these players and the agents, they do see a project. And when you're 20, you've got time to spend a year or two. And, it's the Guirassys that are 28 going on 29 that think, am I going to still be here by the time this Chelsea team matures into the final product that it thinks it will be? Will I be out the door by then? Do I need to join that kind of club now? 20-year-olds, they're like, yeah, let me in. I'll bide my time and wait for it to flourish. And touch wood, ladies and gentlemen, we hope it will flourish. Loads of people like Duran. He does look good. He's not like a random. Do you remember years ago when we were being linked to Ashley Barnes in that really dark summer, and even Crouch was mentioned, like probably jokingly, and we were looking. I think it was on the Conte's second season, We ended up with Giroud. I think it was that. And Giroud was an amazing signing for us, so it all worked out. But there was a dark period where we were being linked to some proper, like, Brexit-style centre-forwards. This isn't that. This is a young Colombian striker who's talented, who's got a high ceiling, and they feel like they need to sell for financial reasons. So, yeah, Jhon Duran could be a exciting and good acquisition. Let me know what you think, and let's move on. All right, so let's end on Conor Gallagher. An article a few days ago by The Guardian wrote that, spoke about Villa looking at Conor Gallagher. Of course, Tottenham want him. Other teams in Europe as well, we know Atletico Madrid really like him. But there's also a segment here in The Guardian saying there is also yet to be any proper move towards Gallagher's side. Any serious negotiations are likely having to wait after Euro 2024. It is understood that Gallagher is prepared to sit tight for another year and will not be pressured into a move that does not meet his requirements. It also speaks about it's not off the table that Conor Gallagher gets a new contract extension. Now, there's loads of things that can happen here. By the way, Chelsea, no matter what, they love Conor Gallagher's professionalism. He's a good lad, he's very communicative, and his application and professionalism is second to none. He's doing all the media, the social media, posting pictures of him, he's doing the kit, like, stuff, all of that. And the coaches love him, everyone at the club loves him. So he's, no matter what happens, he's not toxic, he's just getting on with it and shrugging it off. And that's why they all like him. What I think might happen, Chelsea will have to understand that they can't force him anywhere, of course. He'll just keep training hard, even if they'll be like, oh, you'll be out of the team if you don't go. He'll just keep training hard and do his thing and whatever. So I feel like what might happen is, obviously it's going to wait until after the Euros. He's playing for England at the Euros. It's massive. I have a feeling that a multitude of things can happen. Of course, he could run down his contract and go on a free and just whatever. Or he could agree to be sold to like a Villa or whatever. And if he feels like it's the best thing for his career and he's going to start every game for Aston Villa and play in the Champions League and keep his England spot and everything's wicked. Do you know what I mean? He might think that. Or he can sign a contract. Now, there's two things here. So he's 24, Conor Gallagher. Either he signs like the 6+1 maybe they might give him, so to take him to the rest of his prime career, which I think he, like many players, like Mason Mount, were reluctant to do because it gets that final big money move out of their career when they're like late 20s. So either he does that and, you know, they keep him, they're locked down as an asset and they feel like, oh, we'll sell him in a couple of years or whatever, the pressure's off. Or they find a compromise. Now, we've seen this with a few players. Maybe he signs a 1+1 deal, like an extension. So a 1+1, and we just kick the can down the road. A slight pay rise, because we definitely deserve it. And it's this sort of like compromise where everyone shakes hands and says, look, let's see how you get on playing for Enzo Maresca. You know, they probably won't say this to his face, but they might be like, we have reservations of your play style under this manager. But let's see how it goes. You know, that's just, if you do really well, then we might do a longer deal or whatever. But I feel like there might, because Conor Gallagher seemingly is a really amicable dude, I wonder if there's going to be like this halfway house, like this like compromise met. You know, I just feel like that's a possibility as well, man. So let me know what you think. Hopefully you found these stories that I've spoken about interesting today here on the channel. Start a conversation up between yourselves. Thank you for supporting the content. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. And I do hope to see you back here very soon, guys. Take care of yourselves. Peace.